They say routine is the quiet killer of romance, but I used to think it was our glue. After all, I love the little things. Waking up to Emma's humming in the kitchen, her habit of leaving sticky notes on my coffee mug with bad puns, the way she'd steal the covers and then pretend she didn't. These were the simple anchors in our 7-year marriage. Until they weren't enough. When Emma suggested private yoga sessions at home, I didn't think much of it. She'd been on a wellness kick since the beginning of the year, and her back had been bothering her. She'd found a yoga instructor, Damien, tall, lean, with the sort of quiet confidence that makes you second-guess your own. She told me he was a professional, that she found him through a recommendation in her women's group. Said his rates were decent, he was flexible with scheduling, and most importantly, he came to the house, which she said helped her feel more grounded. I was working longer hours then, trying to land a promotion. I was hardly home for the sessions. At first, I welcomed the change. She seemed lighter, more energetic. I'd come home, and she'd have this post-workout glow, like something in her had awakened. I didn't question it. I was happy for her. Proud, even. Then things began to shift. It started with scent. Our bedroom slowly adopted this new, earthy aroma, like sandalwood and sweat, unfamiliar cologne lingering in the air long after her sessions ended. I asked about it once, and she laughed, brushing it off. Essential oils, she said. Damien swears by them. She started keeping the yoga room locked when I was home, saying she needed uninterrupted peace for meditation. Then, the moans. Not loud ones, and not every time, but once or twice I came home early, and what I heard wasn't deep breathing or a calming playlist. I stood in the hallway frozen, trying to convince myself that maybe yoga had just become more expressive. But deep down, my gut twisted with certainty. I didn't confront her, not immediately. Instead, I started coming home earlier, sometimes making up excuses to skip late meetings. Each time, she looked startled. Once, I walked in to find Damien still lacing up his shoes, sweat clinging to his skin. Emma appeared moments later, her hair messy, cheeks flushed, robes slightly askew over her tank top and leggings. "Hey, babe! Damien was just finishing up," she said, voice too chipper, too rehearsed. Damien nodded at me with that annoying calm of his, but I noticed his hands trembling slightly as he waved goodbye. It was a Wednesday when I finally broke. I came home, and the house was dead silent. I opened the yoga room door. She had forgotten to lock it this time, and there they were, not even bothering to be discreet. Emma, bent low in some twisted version of a pose, her fingers clawing at his back. Damien, shirtless, moving with a slow, practiced rhythm that had nothing to do with yoga. I didn't say a word. I closed the door as quietly as I had opened it, walked back outside, and sat in my car for nearly 2 hours. I don't remember crying, but I remember the rage. It came in cold waves, lapping at the edges of my restraint. She didn't even mention it that night. She must have thought I hadn't seen. She cooked dinner like everything was normal. Roast chicken, her signature mashed potatoes. She poured me a glass of wine, kissed my cheek, and asked about my day. I played along. I smiled. I nodded. I chewed every bite like it wasn't laced with betrayal. But that night, I couldn't sleep. I watched her as she slept, her body curled toward mine as if nothing had shifted. And I realized something profound in the stillness of that moment. Betrayal doesn't always come like a storm. Sometimes it slips in like a whisper, gentle and warm, until you're suffocating under the weight of pretending. In the weeks that followed, I became an actor in my own life. I played the role of the clueless husband with such precision that even I started to believe the performance. I kissed her goodbye in the mornings. I sent her texts at lunch. I asked how her yoga sessions were going. She smiled, she lied, and she had no idea I already knew. But I wasn't idle. While she flowed through poses and whispered sweet nothings to her instructor in the room we once considered a home office, I was building my escape. I started documenting things, photos of them together, screenshots of messages I found on her tablet. She forgot I had the backup password, receipts from their juice bar visits, her sudden withdrawals from our joint account. Every detail, catalogued with the precision of a man whose heart had been shattered in silence. I wasn't looking for revenge. I wasn't even sure I was looking for justice. I just wanted the truth to exist somewhere outside my head. I wanted proof that this wasn't just some emotional hallucination brought on by long hours and loneliness. One Friday morning, I told her I was going out of town for work. She barely looked up from her phone. "That's fine. I've got a double yoga session booked that day anyway," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I kissed her forehead, just like always, then drove to a friend's place across town and waited. I had installed a small camera in the yoga room the day before. It wasn't sophisticated, just a pinhole lens disguised in a vent cover, but it gave me all I needed. I watched from my laptop as they entered the room together, laughing, her hand trailing behind his back like a promise. They moved like dancers, no tension, no guilt. When they kissed, it was long, slow, practiced. I closed the laptop before they hit the mat. I had enough. That evening, I returned home and set the envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside were the printed stills from the camera, a copy of the financial report I'd prepared for my lawyer, and a note. "I was never the problem. You just stopped looking at me the moment someone else made you feel seen." She found it while I was upstairs packing. She didn't call my name. She didn't scream or cry or chase me down the hall. Instead, she came into the bedroom with the envelope clutched in her hand, like a grenade with the pin still inside. "How long have you known?" she asked, her voice barely audible. I didn't look at her. I folded my shirt with deliberate care and laid it gently into the suitcase. "Since the day you started locking the door," I replied. She sat down on the edge of the bed. "It wasn't supposed to happen." "But it did," I said. "And you let it keep happening." She tried to explain. Said things had felt off for a while. Said I was always busy. Said Damien made her feel wanted. "He made you feel seen," I said, finally looking at her. "But you never looked back. You didn't even notice when I started coming home early. You didn't notice when I stopped asking. You didn't notice when I stopped hoping." There was silence then. Not the awkward kind, but the kind that wraps itself around a goodbye. "What now?" she whispered. "I move out. The house is yours. I'll have the papers sent over Monday. You're not going to fight for anything?" I shook my head. "You already took everything worth fighting for," she cried finally. Not loudly, not desperately, just soft, guilty tears that stained the bedspread between us. I watched them fall but felt nothing. I left that night. Drove without music, without destination. I stayed in a cheap hotel by the coast for a few days, the kind of place where nobody asks questions and the walls don't echo. I walked along the beach every morning and stared at the ocean like it might answer something for me. It didn't. But I found peace in the stillness. Emma texted me once, weeks later. "I'm sorry," it read. That was all. I didn't respond. Some endings deserve their silence. Now, months later, I've found my own kind of healing. I've started painting again. I go to a local class every Thursday, and sometimes, when I look around the room, I wonder if any of them carry the same scars as I do. I imagine they do. Love doesn't always end with slammed doors or fiery words. Sometimes it ends in a breath between lies. A breath that lingers just long enough for you to realize you've been holding it far too long. And when you finally let it go, the air feels different, cleaner. Like something new might begin.